Happy New Year. Good evening to all. It is officially January 1st, 2025. I have some things that I want to say, and I created some documentation, and I hope my glasses is not going against my computer screen. Right now, I'm doing this as a recording because I am blocked on TikTok until 22:17, 10:17 p.m. tonight. Hopefully, I can go on and say hello on Facebook Live. This is Monica Valerio and Sila Camposanto in Palo Mayombe traditions and Iya Olomianya in the Yoruba traditions of Lukumi. I'm coming on here and I'm making a live declaration and a testimony and a call to humanity. So, my coming out is a walk forward. And, with that being said, I want to explain why I'm here today. Today I'm not announcing a brand, a company. I'm not unveiling strategy. I'm not pretending I have it all figured out either. I'm coming out in truth. And today I begin my journey, and that's going to be of defense, protection, of the unspoken, and of truth that are buried by lies. And I laugh because this is a society that seems to be more so a lying society than it was before, especially that we have to use filters. Filters are lies. I'm not, unveiling the strategy, but I'm also not pretending that I have it all figured out. Because absolutely not, I don't have it all figured out. What I'm doing is coming definitely out with the truth, and today what I'm going to begin is the defense and protection, and I want to help people for the unspoken. Unspoken can be anything of anyone not understanding. Not necessarily they don't speak. It can be a disability that someone looks well to you, but you don't think they're disabled. So it's a silent disability, it's unspoken. It could be an innocent person covered by abuse, they're unspoken, the elderly, difference of language barrier, just to give you an idea. I am referencing here some stuff that I wrote because I want to stay on task. I'm neurodivergent. I have ADHD, ASD, PTSD, and other situations where I can go and get easily distracted with my neurological system. So I prepared a document, and I think it's about 9 pages, and this is where I'm going with it. This is my journey. Today's January 1st, 2026. I always wanted to be a motivational speaker, always held myself back, and I'm just going to do what I always wanted to do with no fear, but in faith. And here we go. And as I may begin the journey for the protection of the unspoken, of truth buried by lies, of lives distorted by illusions, and of people who are never raised to feel empowered. That disempowerment is not accidental. It is part of how the ghetto was designed in America's economic system. It's part of how the ghetto was designed to confuse, to exhaust, to divide, and to silence. Now, I'm stepping forward into motivational speaking and advocacy. It's always been my dream. Besides my loving of law, real estate, and business, I always want to be a motivational speaker. Always. Not because I'm mastering anything, absolutely anything, but it's because I survived what tried to silence me. I would like to be a motivational speaker because I surely want to continue to survive what tries to silence me. I'm not led by a 5-year plan, an expiration date. I'm not led by what others call successful. I'm led by God's plan. And when I say his plan, by his word, by his gifts, by God's spirit, which is moving through my ashelenu, the power of my tongue in truth, the breath, the life, the force, the truth that refuses to lie down. If I rise, I rise. If I stumble, I learn. If I flop, I stand back up. Because my assignment was never ever to be flawless, that I don't even wear makeup and I don't knock it. It was to be faithful. And I like makeup. I'm not knocking it, not saying I never use it. Hell, glammy is glammy. But it's not my assignment to be beautiful and flawless for what you consider beautiful and flawless. Who I am is without apology. I'm ghetto fabulous. I am educated by life and by spirit. I am from where I am from, and that does not disqualify my wisdom. From Brooklyn, New York, born and raised till 16, finished raising myself in Bridgeport, Connecticut, had all of my children, granddaughter here, Puerto Rican, Dominican descent, and I can conversate with anyone as long as I can understand the language. I am Olomianya. I walk the road of Nsila Camposanto in my other priesthood of Palomayombe, which comes from the African Congo or the Congolese people of religion. People ask why. It's in my ancestry, my blood. Why deny where I truly come from? To lie, to be where you're from. I can't forget where I come from. The sacred path learned to experience suffering, correction, and return. I am the child of Yamaya and Shango, Oni Oni, born through Elegua, crowned through lineage, sacrifice, and love. My grandmother paid for my santo. She did not do it for show. She did it because she saw something in me. My ashe, my endurance, and my destiny. My Oba, Lázaro Campioni, Oshungere, and my Oba from Cuba, he's from Cuba. He and my grandmother both saw that in me. They're Eguns now, and they deserve honor for recognizing and my recognition of who I was before I fully understood myself. Taking a breath because I'm getting emotional because I love my grandmother very much and I love my Oba, Oshungere Bai. I did not walk a perfect house. My godfather made many mistakes. He is human. I did not learn only sweetness. I learned what is good and what is bad. And discernment was part of my initiation. I need to say this clearly. What hurt me was not God. Absolutely not. What hurt me was people's behavior. People taking advantage because my religion, culture, and spirituality were treated as taboo. When something is taboo, it's easier to violate. When something's misunderstood, it's easier to mock. When something is marginalized, it's easier to abuse and then pretend nothing happened. I experienced religious abuse. I experienced cultural disrespect. I experienced power misuse against someone who trusted too much, loved too deeply, and was taught to endure instead of question. Even systems meant to protect, including law enforcement, crossed lines, violating religious freedom, mocking tradition, and turning sacred practices into spectacle instead of safeguarding human dignity. That's not justice. That's not God. That is human behavior abusing power. And I'm done carrying shame for harm that was never mine to cause. The God that I walk with, the source that I believe in, and the names I honor, I walk with God, the supreme source known as Olodumare, Olorun, Olofin, creator, order, balance, breath, and moral law. God is not small. God is not confused. And God is not threatened by culture. I honor Nsambi, or Nsambia as you call it, the divine source in my ancestral memory. I honor my crown, my mother, the deity, As you call, I call it energy. Yemaya. Motherhood, protection, emotional truth, healing through cleansing, survival after storms. And boy, were there storms. And return to self. Ayana Shango, truth that confronts righteous, courage, leadership, justice, and the voice for the wronged. He's also my father. Ayana Obatala, clarity, ethics, balance, peace after chaos. Healing of mind and body, justice without cruelty. Ayana Orula, Orumila, discernment, consequences, accountability, destiny awareness, and truth revealed over time. Ayana the Egum, the spirit, the ancestors whose lives pay for my breath, whose survival knowledge walks with me, whose memory protects my steps. These are attributes, not idols. These are functions, not fantasies. These are cultural systems of ethics, balance, and responsibilities. This is not confusion. This is inheritance. Palo, Congo, the structure that held me. I honor no matter what anyone thinks. Sarabanda. Iron, work, survival, discipline, protection, structure, and justice through action. Sarabanda builds what others only talk about. Ayana Senteyandoki. She's my mother. Sarabanda's my father in the Palamayombe traditions and my priesthood. Senteyandoki. She creates transformation, storm, boundary, enforcement, endings that free spiritual sovereignty, just like Oya. Centella does not destroy randomly. She ends what overstayed. I honor Lucero Mundo. I really do. Crossroads apologize. Communication, openings and closings, directions, accountability at entry points. Lucero doesn't block. He asks if you are ready. Now, I do have an opening prayer for women and humanity. God of all creation, source of breath, life, and order, we come not asking for power, but for remembrance. Remind the world that every man who walks this earth was first carried, first fed, first protected by a woman. We call on Yemaya, Mother of the waters, wombs and return. Teach us again how to nurture life. Instead of dominating it, Yemaya, teach us to protect what is gentle, without mistaking gentleness for weakness. Heal the wounds placed on women's bodies, minds, and spirits. Restore dignity where it is stripped, Yemaya. Yemaya, I implore thee, the woman of essence. Restore safety where was denied. Restore honor where it was forgotten. Let love return, Yemaya, not as fantasy, but as responsibility. Amen. Ashe. In the name of the source. Now, I do have a message for men. Olomianya and Sila Campo has a message for men. And let me tell you, I have a dad, grandpas, uncles, and I have 2 men children that I bared, raised, and others I raised as well. The message to the men is respect is not optional. I want to speak directly to men with respect and truth. Every man is born from a woman. Not a concept, not a symbol. A living woman. The same way you don't want harm done to your mother, your daughter, your sister, your cousin, your partner. Do not harm anybody else's daughter, sister, mother, grandchild, or Iya's child, which means mother. A man becomes president, but he was raised by a woman. that means she is also part of that presidency. And these are my words, Monica's. Took me a little bit of time. I may not read very well, but I'm an exceptional writer. And I only ask ChatGPT to tone it down for the sensitive people who don't like the truth. And the ones who need to be educated in reality. Leadership does not begin in an office. It sure the hell doesn't. It begins in the womb and in the home. You cannot claim love for the divine feminine energy, whether Odun energy, Yamaya, Oshun, Oya, female Egun, or ancestral mothers, and still abuse women. That is a contradiction to everyone's belief and the reality of being born from a woman. Men are meant to protect, not dominate, to cover, not consume, to guard, not exploit. Women nurture powerful souls. They raise leaders, they raise healers, builders, and warriors. Dr. Sebi was born from a woman too, just to give you an example. So was President Trump. To harm women is to damage humanity and its roots. Let us bring back gentle love. Stop DV. Let us bring back respect, honor, integrity of all the mommies. This is not about control. This is about balance and order. Without women, we can't continue to procreate. But women give divine love and nurture. Now, what I'm going to tell you who I'm not and what I'm not going to freaking stand for. 2026 starts now. I want to be very clear. I'm not asking to be labeled. I'm not asking to be liked. I'm not asking to be favored. If the word feminist has become negative, divisive, dismissive, or real human suffering, then do not call me that. I am a realist. Truth. I speak from lived reality, and the reality is this. Women are still abused. Women are still overlooked. Women are still being taken advantage of. Women are still disposed of when they are no longer convenient, whether it's domestic, financial, or sexual. That is not ideology. That is fact. I stand for respect, principle, dignity, protection, accountability, and balance, which is what's lacking in today's society. This is not about superiority. This is about human decency. Why do I speak now? I'm not here to motivate theory. I'm definitely not. I'm here to motivate from example, from lived experiences, from painful resets, from lessons that cost me comfort but gave me lots of clarity of who people are, what things are, what not to do, and how to live and learn life. I speak because silence almost took my life. I advocate because systems fail people. Systems fail people. Think about that. Especially when the truth isn't inconvenient to them or the system. I show up because survival means nothing if is hoarded. Survival means nothing if it's hoarded. That part, sink in. I do not speak over people just to speak. If I do, I never like to forget what I say. I also have a neurological condition. But I speak with those and for those who were dismissed, overlooked, abused, and bypassed. I do have a humanity reminder. We're not machines. I'm holding a book, and in this book, It's called The Visions of the Children, and it reminds me, again, it's called The Visions of the Children. And I'm gonna tell you what it reminds me of. We're not virtual reality robots. We're not data. We're not disposable. And we're human beings chosen by the source to relate. To relate to what? We're supposed to relate to love and to procreate. Nurture's not optional. It's for survival. When your mother gave birth to you and she gave you nurture, or the adopted mother, or the one who chose to nurture you, do you even understand that concept? I'm curious to know. I take a pause because I get emotional about it. And I want to give the message of truth with a controlled emotion. Why I'm emotional is because we're lacking love. We're lacking truth, reality. So nurture's, again, not an option for survival. Love is not extra, and care is not weakness. If your mother gave you all of that, she wasn't weak. Even when it feels impossible to bring love back, it is crucial for humanity to bring love back. Not keep bringing things in the home and only money. It is necessary for the salvation of humanity. And that's what Orisha is, Lukumi and Palomayombe. Salvation, love, and humanity. We are all part of one race. The human race. No matter if you have light skin, white skin, no skin. That is what we are part of. So with this all being said, and the salvation of humanity, and what my traditions and the beliefs and with my ancestors I was taught, that almost every old tune or divination or story, bataki, like a Bible, just saying, or folkloric story, the same way they had of disciples in the past of Orisha or any past ancestors, is always about salvation for humanity. Which is why it's insulting and upsetting to have the religion disrespected or this by the people who are in it first. See, it's very complicated when people who are in it first disrespect it and expect others outside to respect it. So one of my call to actions and faith is in faith and not politics. And excuse me, I have a cold and I'm reality right now, so I'm not. I'm ghetto fabulous. This ain't nothing about editing the reality of my drippy nose is who I am, right? So one of the call of actions I want is I call on all the santeros, elders, practitioners, in all the houses worldwide, not for politics at all, not for debate, and also not for discrimination, but it's for a humanitarian action. Right now, I want to take this moment, January 1st, 2026. The Orisha, my ordainment of my priesthood was done on January 28, 2006. Sorry about that. With the beating, I can go slow, I can go fast, and plus I'm neurodivergent. So I got ordained on January 28, 2006 with Yemaya, but I received my ordainment and my priesthood with Palomayombe Congolese religion with Saravana May 22nd, 2002. It will be 24 years priesthood in Palomayombe Congolese traditions in 20 years. And I feel that now I am ready. It's not about ready to be a godmother. Iya doesn't have to just be a godmother, one who births. We can birth change. We can birth definition of words. We can birth nurture. We can birth evolution. So it's not just birthing to have godchildren. We can birth others by being masters of ceremonies. You birth in the kitchen, you birth in the room, no matter what your position is. So birthing is taken very lightly. Plants bloom, they birth, they give life, they procreate so we can continue, if you understand. So I call upon all santeros, elders, practitioners, houses worldwide. Again, no politics, no debate, no differences, no discussions, no negativity. Again, for humanitarian purposes, just like all faiths and beliefs have stories of salvation and sacrifice for what one believes. Like people believe in the sacrifice of Jesus Christ because of the overall purpose that his Father exists, and that is salvation, as well as other religious beliefs or cultural beliefs, practices, however you call what you conjugate on. Cuba is known religiously to have about 75% of its people practice this religion. The roots that were brought over by the Africans to the Middle Passage. And that is where they was able to bring the religion and the roots and the practice of the ancestors, of those who choose to do Congo beliefs, Nigerian beliefs, whatever Afro-Caribbean beliefs that we have, it was brought to the United States by Cuba and a woman. Santeros. Cuba's hurting after Hurricane Melissa. I'm holding myself from emotion because my Oba, Lázaro Shungere, I was able to learn about the Cuban people in Cuba. Also thankful to my godfather, Rafael Phoebus, for my initiation and introducing me to Lázaro Shungere. But he came from Cuba. His Ashe came from Cuba. He has a daughter still left behind, biological only child in Cuba, and grandchildren. Child or children, I don't know, but I know he had a granddaughter. And we understand that there's political differences and political issues always that have been in Cuba when it came to the takeover of Cuba. But there's human people there. And regardless what our governments fight about, we all know that we all need the basic essentials to live for humanitarian reasons and salvation of humanity. Like basic needs of clean water, basic needs of electricity, because then the food cannot be kept cold. Basic needs of light so they don't live in the dark and have nothing else to do. Even though many years ago we had no electricity, and they told stories and did other things. We're in a modern world, and it's a third world country. But America is also becoming a third world country with the infestation of all opioids, all drugs, guns, killings, and violence. But Cuba, the Cuban people, have beautiful Che. They can still go through worse than what we go through, starving, no light, just like others in the Caribbean, even Puerto Rico, that are abandoned. But they are more oppressed and suppressed with communism. This is not a political movement, and this is not me imploring and asking for all members of Yoruba traditions and all members that have roots and ancestors that come from the Caribbean, whether you're from Jamaica, the Virgin Islands. We have brother, sister islands that are hurting like Cuba. And regardless of the government, there's ways to help the Cuban people. There is food in Cuba. What it is that their incomes do not reach the amount. Their monthly income barely gets them 1 pound of rice, and they have to depend on what the government has to offer them. Now, there is food in Cuba now with the American flag on it, but that food is not tangible to the people who don't have enough money or people outside of Cuba to help the Cuban people. Now, there are Cubans that have family outside that can help them, that they leave to help them back in Cuba. What hurts in my heart, I've never been there and I hope to go one day, But in the Cuarto Santos of Bronx, New York, is where I always worked, and one time in Philadelphia. That was a disgrace. But in the Bronx, I learned Santo with Lázaro Campione Oshungere. Ibae, he's an Easter egg now. And I learned his heart from Cuba. I may never have been there, but the stories I heard in the Cuarto Santo of all of my Cuban elders brought me to Cuba with their conversations, how they're oppressed, how their communist country works, but how hungry they are, that they still have the mentality in these Cuarto Santos or in these religious rooms, that when we give out food, the way they receive it is as though food was going to run out. Not in belittlement, but in mentality of the oppression, that even if they're in America, their mind is still in prison, because that behavior and mentality of abuse and the lack of humanitarian necessity is not fair in a modern world. I don't like that our people go to Cuba and receive at discounted third world prices religious artifacts and ceremony to come back and supercharge them by 1,000,000%. If you can get a Santo in Cuba, even say 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, they'll come back and charge you 25,000. They'll use the excuse because here they don't have things, but Florida is very tropical and close and doesn't go through the Jones Act or through Cuba. Now, we are blessed to be able to bring religious artifacts from the Cuban government back and forth from America. Don't you think that those people that give us ashe, regardless of what happens government to government, if we go receive their heart, their love, their power, ashe, their belief, while they're starving and hungry, and see the people leave to come to the Americas or what they bring, don't you think we should be sending ashe to Cuba? Hurricane Melissa is something that nature brought. It has nothing to do with the Castro administration. How they're administering them is none of our business. But if we go to Cuba and we take their ashe and bring back Orisha Santos knowledge, artifacts, dances, song, and tambores, we should return Pampers, baby Tylenol. They're going through suffering. There's a lot of mosquitoes bringing illness. I don't care what the Cuban Americans say, that it's okay to leave Cuba like that, but they got a passport. There are people that have help in Cuba, and there are a lot of people that don't, starting with the elderly and the children and the women. That always was a priority, because elderly needs to be taken care of because they're our ancestors. Children have no choice because they were brought here. And the women are to be taken care of because they procreate. They don't have things like tampons. They don't have things like maxi pads. They don't have things that are Pampers. They do things like if the people, when you have to survive, they always have to come up with an idea. They wash out Pampers. Sometimes they don't get rice since May for months, and we're now in January. They get happy for sugar. They don't have coffee. But yet we throw those things out, and America runs on Dunkin', with all due respect. We throw away thousands of pounds of food. We throw away things that we don't like because we want new things. Can we at least make collections? Have people contact other people. There are organizations, and I will put it later in my comments. They're in Hialeah in Miami, working with the people to help the Cuban people. Now I'm calling for a call to action. I am begging my Orisha priest, Palo Mayombe, Sanse, Voodoo priestess, all the original Yoruba, Mayombe, African, Totonani, Caribbean. Let us get together and conjugate together by getting together and helping our brothers and sisters in the Caribbean. And I'm asking for Cuba in my religious santeros, paleros, and everyone else, the 7 divisions, whatever you receive from Cuba and the riches that are still there, please return ashe, food, water, Pampers, clothes, medicine. Let's not worry about politics and government. Cuba's hurting after Hurricane Melissa. It's always been hurting, but more so. Its people are getting stir crazy without light. People are getting desperate without the proper supplies in hospitals. Some of the hospitals that the people have access to are not what we consider in America hospitals. Our hospitals are hotels compared to hospitals in third world countries like Cuba and other countries. We can get quick together to destroy in war another country and yet rebuild, but yet we can't rebuild the human race, which is a disgrace. This is about human ashe, the energy of dignity, of survival and care. Faith is not just a prayer. It's not just a church. It's not just belonging. Faith is feeding people, clothing people, loving people, sheltering people, uplifting people, making changes and knowing that if you have a change, don't gatekeep. Help humanity continue. We can be extinct. We're at the verge of extinct if we only depend on social media, if we don't teach how to socialize, if we don't teach how to depend on one another and how to help one another. If we stop with prejudice, it would be a better world. But know that no matter what government decisions make, we are the people. And if we're able to help the people, that is what it is to be human. And let us return our chair to where it is needed most, not where we can feed our finances and oil and just beneficial. Charity against charity is not charity. If you're giving charity to write off your taxes, that's not charity. You're doing an even exchange for a personal benefit. If you really want to give charity and be a humanitarian or human, religious, give it, don't speak it, don't take it, don't acknowledge it, and let it go. Because God let you do so. Today's January 1st, 2026. I'm going to step into my next chapter no matter how many people put me down, no matter where I am. I've been falsely arrested multiple times. If I get incarcerated, even if I didn't do it, I'm going to carry on my chapter. I'm going to keep on my shoulda knew. I'm going to keep speaking the truth. I'm going to keep feeling safe and walk in faith. Even if I get unalive and my family's at risk, I know that God has us, even if you don't see it. Because that is what I believe in. The one that made the seed. The one that brought the egg and made the hen. Today, January 2026, I step into my next chapter. Not knowing everything, that is for sure, but knowing who leads me, the source in my primordial energy of my soul that connects outside my being in the universe of Avatar. I'm available, I'm willing, I'm walking. And whatever grows from this platform, small room, no one watching, but my Ori and Ledi speaking to a crowd, one person, or just to the universe. I'm going to show up whole and changed, not ashamed, empowered. I appreciate all my humiliation. I appreciate all of my moments that were not private. I appreciate my truth because there's only then that I was able to understand the changes that I needed to make that I did not see when I was living in lies of humanity. I will show up whole, honest, and changed. That is my yes. That is my defense. That is my protection. This is my forward. No matter how many people tried, whether you armor rolled my brakes, messed up my transmission, hurt my children, addicted them, sexually abused them, harmed them to hurt me, disassociated, labeled, and lied upon. I am strong. I am good. I am empowered. I am part of the human race. And I can use all of my disgrace, my despair, my grief, and all that is called negative, now that I see, and when I see more, to give back to others, to continue the human race, avoid distinction. Because it's not about you being a body. It's about you being a human. Now, I do have something additional that I want to add. And before my hardships and everything I went going through, especially before the police brutality, public defenders lying, and people plotting and planting false and false statements, just lies for the cowards that can't live the truths and don't want to change who they are, but rather show people who they're not. This message is to law enforcement and government. Power is not ownership. I also need to speak this directly to the law enforcement and to all government systems, agencies, lawyers. And I want to say this calmly and clearly and on record. I have wrote this down and I don't want to miss this. So I'm going to be going through my Word document. This is in my heart. I no longer want to be a lawyer. I do want to be an advocate. After all of my experiences, I am disappointed with American government, American law, and I was deceived that I can make a difference being a lawyer or being an attorney. Now I understand the term that lawyers are liars, and I refuse to represent anyone who would truly hurt others, even if I'm not aware. But I'd rather advocate for the ones who are hurt, silenced, and want to rehabilitate. Authority is not ownership. Power is not permission. A badge, a title, or an office does not override human rights, religious freedom, or human dignity. I respect the role of law enforcement and government when it's exercised with integrity. But I must name this truth. Abuse of power exists. It exists when authority is used to intimidate instead of protection. It exists when cultural or religious practices are mocked, minimalized, or criminalized, like I was, because they are misunderstood. It exists when marginalized people or spiritually different people are treated as problems instead of citizens. We're people. And without people, there's no government, police, doctors. There's no one a doctor, no one a police, no one a prison. Public service is a duty, not dominance. Enforcement is meant to protect, not punish, identity. Government is meant to serve and not silence our people. When power forgets accountability, it stops being protection and becomes harm. Like Bridgeport, Connecticut Police Department, Officer Sandowski, Internal Affairs, and all the police officers that tried to arrest me at the Bridgeport Post Office to lack their accountability. And when the power forgets that accountability, it stops the protection of its citizens and it brings harm to the citizens. City of Bridgeport, Porter, and Mayor Ganim are bragging about how the murder rate and crime is down in Bridgeport because they're the ones committing crimes now, bullying us and putting false arrests and lots of breaches of peace to control us, and that's not what it's meant to be. We're not meant to bring your statistics down or for you to oppress your citizens for numbers, statistics, and reports to get grants or to show that your police are policing correctly. I was offended as a priestess and a deacon in my religious ceremonies. I am no different than a deacon of a Catholic church or a pastor or a preacher, except that I'm more special. I'm double. I am a deacon and priestess in the Palo Mayombe traditions of the African Congo, and I am a Yoruba priestess and a Iya. They come from Nigeria. Religious is freedom. It's not a privilege granted by the state. It is a constitutional right. My traditions and my culture and my spiritual identity are not props. They're not performance and not criminal evidence. They're protected expressions of belief in my heritage, my lineage, my slavery ancestors, and of all of my family and relatives, whether blood or spiritual. Because on my head, when I was ordained, the ancestors' blessings are always with me. Mocking, misrepresenting, or violating someone's faith, especially when the faith is already stigmatized, is not neutrality, which means it's not neutral. It's actual discrimination. Accountability is not an attack. Naming abuse of power is not anti-police. It's not anti-government. And it's not pro-accountability. True authority welcomes oversight. The leadership corrects itself. The justice does not fear transparency. Silencing people, Mayor Ganem, or any other government of control who speak about harm does not create order. It creates mistrust. What I'm asking for respect of religious and cultural diversity. As the priestess deacon that I am, I am, and Yayi and Sila Camposanto, the Palo Mayombe, Yoruba traditions of the Congolese people in the African Congo. It's in my blood and I'm entitled to it. When you abolish slavery, you should have left the shackles or cheque of our religion be. Do not protect it under a decree and say that we are free. I'm asking for respect of religious and cultural diversity, protection of women marginalized voices, accountability when authority causes harm, training that includes cultural competence and human dignity, enforcement rooted in law, not bias, truth and accountability and not called with insanity or psychological evaluations to show that you don't know the term, and that is crazy. Enforcement that is rooted in law and not biased. And this is not rebellion. This is civic responsibility. Anytime someone speaks the truth, they're called resistant or retaliatory, which is not true. That's part of freedom of speech. To say the truth, to have proof, is protected speech. The Constitution and the Constitution state is a disgrace. One-line truths. You can say anything you want to say, but they always want it calmly, but yet they don't treat you that way. Accountability strengthens authority. It doesn't awaken it. Respecting rights is not optional. It's the law. Public service means serving, not control. Remember that. Public service means serving, not control. Police, you serve, you don't control. You create order. Judicial Marshal Michelle Giorgiani, Becky Bach, Lieutenant Lamar Bolden, Joseph Frolic. You have to understand. Accountability strengthens authority. It doesn't weaken it. Respecting rights is not optional in the law. You also have to understand that public service means that you serve us, the citizens, who pay the taxes to be protected and who you serve. You're not supposed to control us. Power without accountability is abuse. Justice should never depend on conformity. There's no dignity when you do. Now, I'm not here to attack institutions at all. They say that because truths are not to be shown. I'm not here to protect people. I speak because silence enables harm. I speak because truth definitely restores balance. And I speak because authority must answer to humanity. Otherwise, Who are you authoritating? Now, I have a reminder for everyone else and for everyone listening, law enforcement, judges who failed me, lawyers, public defenders who failed me, prosecutors who failed me, lawyers like Dennis Bradley who failed me knowingly know that men shoot women and they still take women's money and don't return it after they beat the women. Stuff like that. You know, even Mayor Ganem of City of Bridgeport, Connecticut, stealing from its constituents and people in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and the people still had trust and faith in him. They voted for him, and then he uses his staff or the people who also voted for him, like City Council, stuff his ballots. He keeps riding the ship, the captain, the ship sink, but the captain is still captain. But the sailors are all the culprits of him being mayor again. This is lawful speech. It is educational and not inflammatory. It is grounded in rights and not accusations. It is safe to read as long as I say it slowly and calmly. Remember, I'm from New York. What that means, it's a rough place. You become rough around the edges. But remember this, when you're born in a place and that place is difficult, you're meant to evolve and to have ecology of that place because you're raised in a place to survive. A chameleon is given the gift of camouflage to survive. So when you are in a certain environment, around certain people and around certain things, we all adapt. And sometimes those things we don't see are controlling. Now with this, I wanted to talk about today, January 1st, 2026, me starting my motivational. I'm still going to speak my story because you guys are my judges and lawyers because the city of Bridgeport, they're not protecting, believing me, not even public defenders. And if anything happens to me and my children, and if they say that I'm psychological with the psych eval, although I had 25 years of voluntary psychological help to help myself to get to this point, from being severely abused and neglected and abandoned as a child, from sexual molestation to mother lost, to drug abuse, to the system, to drug trafficking, to being in jail, to a grandmother burdened by the crack era of the Generation X, to suffer, to carry the burdens of some boomers. It was complicated because the boomers had a lot of siblings and not a lot of love. This is about faith today, importance of women, the importance of men's roles. You're meant to protect, you're not meant to hurt women. Stop the domestic V's. Remember, you were born in the blessed womb of a temple of a woman chosen by God, or the source that's unexplainable because there were many other sperm cells besides yours, and you were chosen. We're too busy looking at everyone else's chosen that no one sees that we were chosen the moment that we was chosen to fertilize in the womb of the egg of your blessed mother, and then nurtured and raised by another, or the same. Please understand that we all bleed the same. We are all human, whether we come in different shape and sizes, whether we speak different pitches, whether we hear or able disabled. The job of the able is to help the disabled and to learn why they're disabled and what is able. Although to me, everyone is able, and if we put all of our ables and disabled together, we realize we were meant to be together, not united, divided states. Everything is not about money, power, and control. We need order, we need love, and we need unity. We are human beings. We are humanity. With that, I say Happy New Year, although it's another day. But the mission, the fears, the low self-esteem, everything negative that I carried from everyone who said who I was is no longer who God made me be. All together, the good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent, the mistakes, my broken, those pieces can still be put back together. And they have and they are. with love of what matters most to me. Not things, not money, but people. God bless us all. And my santeros y santeras, por favor, la gente de Cuba trajeron esa religión a los Américas. Por favor, deje de estar cogiendo la che baratísimo, descuento, para venir aquí y cobrar mucho y vivir en palacio y olvidar de dónde viene esa che. Y vamos a ayudar a la gente con che sin político. Con dinero se necesita, pero se necesita comida, agua, pamper, papeles, toallas sanitarias para mujeres, ropa para mujeres, hombres y niños. Y la gente necesita comida para energía. Y hay comida en Cuba, lo que no hay es salario para pagar y obtener lo que Dios dice que necesitamos. Sus santeros y santeras y paleros y todas las religiones que creemos en nuestro origen. Vamos a orar, vamos a cooperar. Si ponemos por lo menos $1 y buscamos, y la fundación la va a poner una gente que están ayudando a Cuba, o hacemos entre nosotros. Vamos a regresar a Che, al Caribe, al paseo mediante de la esclavitud y sacar nuestra religión de la esclavitud y demostrar al mundo que Yoruba es amor, humanidad, unidad. Un palo no hace un monte y un orisha solo nos salvó Olofi. Con la che de todo el mundo salvaron Olofi, aunque fue el igual que lo descubrió. Que Dios me lo bendiga hoy, mañana y siempre. Los amo mucho, no hablé mucho español, pero hay mucho para traducir. En el futuro voy a hablar para poder motivar, enseñar toda mi característica negativa que no vi, cosas malas, cosas aprendido que no trae progreso. Quiero enseñarle para que podamos tener progreso. Bendiciones a Iworo, bendición Olofi y Oloro los Dumare, que también pongo me lo cutare para mucho más y menos. Feliz año nuevo. Respetan las mujeres, cuidan sus hijos y amanse uno al otro. Que Dios me lo bendiga hoy, mañana y siempre. In love and light, love, much blessings, Olomiaña. And for the new year, please every day do something for someone else. God bless you.